Try that again. Hi, everyone. I'm so grateful to be doing this Zoom call today and live interview with one of our founders, Jay Holman. And I'm going to let him share his story. But, I think it's so important that we have this conversation because with everything that we have going on with our lifestyle referral network, this is now possible for you too. And his story is very inspiring from where he's gone, where he was to where he currently is. I see a complete shift in his mindset. And, he's been able to create a lifestyle that I want for myself. And, being part of our lifestyle referral network and our beauty referral network, now that is possible for us all. So I am going to turn it over to Jay. I'm going to let him introduce himself to our network. He's been one of our founders since the very beginning. And a lot of our new business partners and things that we are creating is actually possible because of Jay and his connections. So first of all, I wanted to say thank you for that. And thank you for everything that you're doing for our network. But please share your story with everybody so they can get to know who you are. And then we'll go from there.
Okay, interesting. Thanks so much, Callie. I'm going to kind of flip this. So I'm going to say instead of who I am and what I'm doing, what I tell people when they say, so they'll walk up and they'll have this kind of surface question of like, what do you do? And I say nowadays, I say, it's not about what I do, it's who I'm being for myself and others. So
Right.
my question to you, Callie, is who am I being for you and others, or how am I occurring out in the world, in your world?
I would say you are occurring to me as somebody that has truly taken their life into their hands. And you have been a connector for me for in so many ways. You've also been a supporter and helping me break through my things that I've been dealing with that have also been holding me back. So to me, there's so many things that I could talk about because, we've been through a lot together. But I want to live the lifestyle that you're living now. So, and it wouldn't be possible if I didn't get out of my own way. So, let's I think it's important that you introduce yourself to people as to, where you were and who you are now, and then we can have a conversation and, also open it up for people that may have questions. Are you there? Oh, Jay froze. Okay, so he's gonna probably end up jumping back on. He's tuning in from Mexico. So I will just wait on the call. He should be popping back in just a moment. So we'll just hang tight. Um, being in different destinations around the world, they don't have the highest of speed internet that we do. So, I'm so grateful to be doing this interview with Jay, and he's going to jump back on any second. So we'll just hang tight for a minute, and he's jumping back onto the call. You froze, but I carried the call until you got back. So, welcome back to the call.
There we go. Try this again.
Yeah,
I
you're
lose
good
it?
now. You're good now.
Okay. I jumped on my phone, so I have data this way.
Okay,
The
cool.
miracle laptop and the quirkiness of Mexico.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was saying. That please be patient. Jay will be right back. He is in Mexico living his best life, so sometimes the internet isn't the greatest. So
100%. So I'm sure what you said was probably profound and whatnot. Can you give me a summary of what you came up with?
yeah, so what I basically said is, you have been not only as a leader and a connector in the network for me, but you've also been an inspiration. And in saying so is um, you know, a lot of people will not do what you have set out to achieve in such a short amount of time. And to me, that's inspiring in itself. You've not only have connected me with some of our amazing business partners from around the world, but you've also taken a stand for me in my life. And I appreciate that. And that's why I wanted to do this call because like you've completely changed. Like you are free as a bird and you're not living in the rat race. And I think it's so important for other people that maybe, living paycheck to paycheck or, not sure how they're going to actually create the lifestyle that they want for themselves. And that's why I'm so grateful to be doing this interview and just having this conversation with you in general to let other people know what is possible for them too.
Mm. Hmm. Hmm. I hear that. That's cool. Yeah, I just realized if anything, I needed to like I've done a lot of coaching in different personal growth, and if you know my background, it's more effective communication and relationship skills. And then I have branches of that. So if I'm teaching stringed instruments, if I'm teaching universal partnership skills for all partner dancing, or anything like that, I believe that everything is effective communication relationship with yourself and others. So
Absolutely.
if, right? And like after reading, say, 230 books, which I sold in 2 weeks before I became this nomad, I realized that everything is summed up to basically your thoughts and your words create your own reality. And then once I had that simple truth and I kind of practiced it daily, I was like, wow, so every human being that I go talk to, even if they're in a different culture, anything like that, it's the same formula. Their thoughts and their words create their own reality.
Mhm.
So I can't try and control another human being or an environment in a situation. I can only control myself. So
Right.
then that kind of became this like path and exploration of like, how do I master my own faculties? And it all starts with the mind. I mean,
I
everything is mind.
I can totally relate to that, like going through this business and building this business, I've had to look at myself in the mirror and some of the hardest times have had to figure out how to keep going, and that it was my own thoughts, feelings, emotions, and actions that was keeping me where I was.
Yeah. Yeah, you realize that you always have a choice. Like, some of the things I've studied, it's like it boils down to you can have a choice to choose things based in fear, and you can have things based in love. And
Right,
really, that's the only two sides.
right,
And if everything is abundance and everything is connected and everything is energy and frequency, then we really got to watch our words because they have a frequency. So I started, what shifted in me is I got really clear on my core values through, say, ayahuasca and journaling and meditation and all this personal growth and leadership training and all the stuff that I was involved in for many a year. And then I realized that I was coaching people, but I wasn't truly living it day to day as a moment to moment practice, like the power of now, the presence, the mindfulness. That's the overarching theme of my whole life. So it's like, how do I get out of my own way from moment to moment and choose to feel just a little bit better now? Like,
right.
you know me, Callie. I'm huge into Abraham Hicks. Like
Yeah.
every morning, I am a deliberate creator of my own life experience. However, what I realized was there's a big distinction between deciding and decided.
Mhm.
And when I decided to sell 90% of my possessions, leave Victoria, and put 10% in storage with friends, that was a huge shift. However, the amount of weightlessness and like looking at my, income or my expenses and my cost of living and everything, I was like, oh my God, I love the feeling of not owning and having to maintain that ownership of anything.
Yeah.
And I have my essentials, right? I read a
Right.
book called Essentialism and I was just like, oh my God, Greg McEwen. And then that tied into the 4 Hour Work Week with Tim Ferriss talking about that fable of the person, the CEO, going to the Mexican village. And basically, the punchline of that fable is you can do your life in reverse, or you can do it what most people are taught, which is
Right.
the rat race and become a CEO and automate your systems and have a team, and you can finally make it to the beach and enjoy
Right.
your life, right?
Yeah.
Like the
That's what I'm
punchline of
working
that
towards
fable
as
is
well. Yeah.
the
Um,
punchline of the fable, if I might share, is the whole idea of the CEO's talking to the fisherman and he says, "What do you do with your days? Right? What do you design your day?" And he goes, "Oh, well, I go out, I catch some fish, I come home, I play a little guitar, drink some wine, my friends, play guitar, and I make love to my wife." And then he goes to bed and he does it again, right? A very simple life. And he does what is bringing him joy.
Right.
And then ultimately, after the CEO lays out his like game plan, his like end game or his legacy, the same thing is like, oh, okay, so you can finally get to that place, you retire, you can play guitar, yeah, you'll catch some fish and eat, and you'll hang out with your friends, and you get to make love to your wife, right?
Yeah.
Well, I looked at that and was like, wait a minute, why can't I live that fable? Why can't I flip everything?
Right.
So, wait a minute. Could I just decide versus deciding to get out of the rat race? Could I plug into my inner faculties and my superpower of resourcefulness that we all have? Ah, yes, I can. And then, boom, that's what it was like, wait a minute, I'm the author of my own life design. I decide, do I want to react to a barking dog or do I just want to respond?
Right.
And response to me is literally like mastery.
Right.
Is it perfect? No. But, my whole thing that's guided me is ineffective versus effective. I say this even with dance students or my clients of mine. In my world, there is no good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just less effective and more effective,
Right.
right? So, what can I do to make the situation or the environment or the experience more effective? Versus I'm feeling the currents of it, it seems ineffective,
Hmm.
right? But I'm not using judgment words. Like
Right.
I call those, I don't call those. I met someone last night that has a book and a course called Dirty Words. And it's things like shouldn't and can't and but. And we use this in our language constantly. Well, if our thoughts and our words create our own reality, shouldn't we become more present and mindful and responsible for our words?
Absolutely. And I wanted to also give it back to you because you even correct me in my own language. And I wanted to thank you for that. And some people maybe not know who Abraham Hicks is, but if you're looking for any resources or you'd like to, learn more, I one of my favorite movies, and I watch it once a month, I watch it all the time, is The Secret. And, it's not until putting myself through Landmark a few times, which Jay, you've also done that as well. And I'll let you speak a little bit on Landmark and how that has impacted your life. But it wasn't until I went back through it a second time where actually things started to shift and transform for me. And, when I started putting my purpose and focus on how I can serve others, then it felt like my problems were quite small. I felt like I
Hmm.
felt like I actually started to live my purpose. And you've done some remarkable things over the past little while. Like I've seen you in, Oregon, I've seen you in Seattle, I've seen you in Toronto. Like how have you been able to do that? Like
Hmm.
just travel and meet new people and network and, create the lifestyle that you've always wanted to create. Like how has
Yeah.
that been possible for you?
Well, honestly, there's so many things I could add to that, and we could go down many rabbit holes. However, I will keep it really succinct. One thing I want to add before I go in that direction is to me, it's about principles and it's about implementation. So I'll give you an example, like what you just said. Yes, you might watch The Secret once, you might watch it twice. I say this to people all the time, I'm sharing, is saying, like, great, congratulations, you managed to read 52 books in a year. And have you ever read one book 52 times,
Right.
right? And implemented those principles, those lessons of those chapters, like say once a week, or like maybe one lesson for a whole month. And your goal, your exercise, your practice in life daily is to literally implement in some way, shape, or form aspect of your life during that day that lesson.
Right.
And that lesson might be something like reframing, right?
Mhm.
Change your state, change your physiology. Or maybe it's even as simple as saying the word and versus but after saying an amazing, empowering sentence
Right.
out in the universe, right? Because if everything is projection and everything is in your mind,
Right.
well, geez, wouldn't I want to reverse engineer that?
Right.
So that's the big one is the reading the book, 52 times versus going on to the next thing, which can be very addictive. And I
Mhm.
speak from experience.
Yeah.
And tied into that is when I got rid of those 200 books, I told you everything was boiled down to very simple principles, and most authors just regurgitate it.
Hmm.
So, to answer your question, with traveling different places in the States and Mexico and all these things, well, how did it come to be? Well, I started going, wait a minute, I want to be the author of my own life design. I
Hmm.
don't want to be on a hamster wheel. I don't want to be on the rat race. And I believe for myself that examples of hamster wheels are things that the masses are basically following. So, example will be social media, content creators, influencers, even automation of systems can be a hamster wheel unto itself because yet again, you now own something that you have to maintain.
Right.
So if you don't own those things, then you don't ever have to have maintenance. Like if you own a house, you're eventually going to have maintenance. So all those things, I believe, create more congestion and I don't know, I'm trying to think of the word. It just basically restricts you,
I was
and
just gonna
you're
say it's like
creating
a
it from choice.
it's like being having that ball and chain dragging behind your ankle when
Yeah.
you're basically working to survive just to pay bills, but then you're not getting ahead in life.
Exactly. You're always catching up. And then, as I explored more and more and started coaching people on financial literacy and how money works and how to actually have money work for you and studying leverage and like I said, the 4-hour work week or Robert Kiyosaki, all these things, I was like, oh my God, these are all liabilities because they're not paying me.
Mhm.
There's something that I'm supposed to work towards
Yep.
versus creating an asset. Well, I learned a long time ago, and now I'm finally really putting it into a daily practice. My greatest asset is myself.
Hmm.
If I invest in myself and my own personal growth and my own, like what I call authenticity lighthouse of who I'm being in the world, I can actually shift my whole entire reality.
I
And
feel that. I feel that.
it's not easy, right? I literally have to consciously choose every day. And the beauty of it is I get to choose. So I realize that I get to choose whether I'm decided on something or I'm still deciding. And if I can observe the observer, basically itty bitty shitty committee on my shoulders, the volume goes lower and I actually create more mastery around this,
Yep.
right? Instead of this having mastery over me and I'm basically reacting day to day. And I'm kind of like what Napoleon Hill would say, like I'm a drifter, I'm on autopilot. I'm I'm feeding a different wolf. But if the wolf is abundance in my true nature self, I can actually strip away fear and conditioning. I just have to consciously choose to have that as a practice.
Yeah.
Now, am I in a cave meditating for 40 years? No. I'm living my best life. I'm designing what I want, right? Tomorrow it's almost Christmas. Guess what I'm doing? I'm taking juggling lessons because
That's
I went to
awesome.
the boardwalk the other day and I did a beautiful like First Nation ceremony for the people that are here. I started talking to the guy and I was like, who do you serve? What offerings do you have? And he's like, oh, I do the Mayan thing. We've got temescal, we got cacao, and I juggle. And I was like, you juggle? That's something I've always wanted to be able to do. Plus, it's something that I could travel and build as a skill, which would train my presence. Oh, okay, this adds to my core value of exercising my personal growth muscles so they don't atrophy. And I asked him, and he's like, oh, yeah, like 500 pesos will do an hour to 3 hours, depending when you blow a fuse in your learning. And I was like, oh my God, 500 pesos. And you're going to give me hour to 3 hours depending on what I want. Wow, like you're not out to take my money. You're out to actually truly serve me and give me a lifelong skill that's I could travel the world with.
That's very cool. You know, I have one on my bucket list, and that's to learn how to surf and learn how to scuba dive. So those are kind of the
Mm,
two things that I've always had on my list, and I plan on doing that together with you in Mexico very soon.
yeah.
And you know, so let's shift it a little bit. So for somebody that's feeling stuck in their life currently and you feel like you're part of the rat race, what advices would you give people? And you know, let's take it a step further because I know what it's like to sell all your stuff and move to a new place and just like get rid of everything and start over. So what advices would you give? Let's one, how do you get out of the rat race and how do you prepare yourself to live that lifestyle?
Okay. Well, one thing I hear in that is clearing something up. So I didn't sell all my possessions. I'm not a minimalist.
Yeah.
I'm what I call or what I feel is practicing to be an essentialist. So I have essential things. I did not sell all my
Yeah.
possessions. I have 10% in storage. So I want to let everyone
Okay.
watching this know that it's not that I don't own anything. What I did was the theme around what I said before. I believe my superpower has always been tapping into resourcefulness. And I believe that comes from insight, not external tools,
Mhm.
right? That leads to hamster wheels and rat race.
Yeah.
So if I can connect within and I can trust my own intuition and go, okay, I don't ever want to know, own a jet, but I love the idea of having my own like connections that I can rent the jet, right? If I have
Absolutely.
unlimited resources and money, like if I have money done and it's coming in from unknown sources, I can rent a jet when I want, or I can go scuba diving once, but I don't have to own a boat or a jet or anything, right? Yet again, ownership equals maintenance equals more taxes equals more they take from you, all those things. That is like, no. So tied into that, I put 10% in storage with friends being the key word. So trust-based relationships are one of the most valuable things you could ever build and cultivate in your life all over the world, which
Hmm.
I did for 20 years. So now I get to actually reach out to these people versus on Zoom.
Right.
The other thing is the resourcefulness. I looked at it. I'm like, do I want to put my stuff in storage and who knows, 2 years, whatever, come back to say Canada and then have to deal with that? Or what can I do? And this is the key. I'm like, what might I specifically do that would be more effective? Because for me, I feel like renting a storage space is more ineffective. That's the conclusion I came to. So I decided, not deciding, I sat down and went, no, I price storage units. No, that's just an example of my life, right?
Hmm.
But that's an analogy or a metaphor, whatever it is, for how I approach life. Like I'm being this thing. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not getting stuck in my head. I am decided to do this thing. And I realize I always have a conscious choice. And the cool thing is I can always change my mind and go down a different rabbit hole.
Right.
So tied to that, that's exactly what happened. I was like, did those things. That freed up the space in my brain. I uncluttered my brain full of all these extra thoughts that my mind was making up, like, oh God, Mexico, unsafe, and what if I do this, and the cartel, and oh, what should I worry about, and blah, 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 right? And I just put that aside. The itty bitty shitty committee went lower volume, and I said, no, wait a minute. All I can do right now is be present from one moment to the next.
Right.
And if I serve people while I do it in a heart-based space, my intention will be seen true and everything will just open up for me.
Right.
So, tied to back to your question, that's it. Is I decided to plug into resourceful platforms like trusted house sitters. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I love dogs and cats. I don't want to own one, but I love living vicariously through others, right? I don't want to pay for dog food. That's not what I'm decided that is in my expense for the year. So what I'll do is I'll go see different cities that I've always wanted to see before it gets too restrictive, right? Costs are always going up, they're not going down. So, and restrictions and everything. So I was like, man, this is the best time to do it. 46 years old, I want to literally do the things that I wanted to do for the last 12 years or more.
Yeah.
Right?
And I,
You
I I
call it a
get
bucket
that.
list. I call it a design list. Like
I get
it's just
that.
something that I would be distracted and not do. So,
Right.
so seeing these different cities, it included Mexico and also included US. And then I used the pet sitting as a vehicle to not have to pay rent. And then what ends up happening too is I'm hugely connected in these dance communities because I used to go to dance conventions and that, and I meet all these people all over the world. So all of my Facebook acquaintances and whatnot actually became like, hey, I'm in your city. If we really truly had some connection, like let's actually connect versus, oh, I'll see you at the next dance thing or I'll see you on Facebook.
Right.
And that transformed my whole life. So the combination of those two things, it lowers the cost of living and then getting rid of 90% of your possessions. I mean, what do you have left?
Right.
Right? What do you have to afford?
Right. And one thing that I'm hearing from that is, and when you get older in life and you look back and wish that you could have done all of these things, or wish that you could have traveled or seen, certain places, or done that thing, whatever that thing
Yeah.
is for you, and you
Yeah.
look back in your life, or if you get sick, or if something happens and you're unable to achieve that one thing, how would you be able to live with yourself for that? Like, to me, that's my thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
I've made it my life mission to get this network set up so people can start dreaming again, so people can start living that life. They're not going
Yeah.
to have to worry about if they're going to be able to pay a bill. They can go out and create anything they want. And I've had to grow so much in the process to even get to this place for this company to be where we are at now.
Yeah.
And I've had to make major shifts in my life, even just to be able to get it done.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
and people
Well, I mean, I
don't,
think that part of the itty bitty shitty committee and this kind of fear that is deep, deep rooted is this whole idea of like, people are in fear of outliving their money, right?
yeah,
Like literally, they think, "Oh my God, I'm 65 years old, pensions don't work. I've been told a lie." And then all of a sudden they figure out, wait a minute, the government's taking way more of a cut than they said they were going to. I
right.
don't own a pension, pension companies do. Ooh, there's a rude awakening. And now all of a sudden they realize, oh God, I'm 70 years old and I got to go back to earn money.
Yeah,
Like, if we didn't have to earn money, we would be financially free tomorrow. And that's what I've come to realize is like if you set yourself up with enough resources, and I tell you this all the time, the most expensive thing you could ever own in this world is a closed mind.
yep,
So everything I do is based on effective communication and relationship skills. And what ties into that is active listening. Like even right now, like I'm not asking versus telling, I'm telling versus asking. So like I don't learn as much when I'm talking.
yep,
So when I start listening more to these communities and what they need to be served and what's missing, and I fill that gap, I mean, they may pay me, right? They maybe pay me in
right.
different services, bartering and everything. So I just look at it like, well, why do we have to have all these material things and why do we have to earn more material when it's more about going within? It's just like, I don't know. It's crazy. Like the more I get rid of, the more I have space to design whatever I want to do.
Right.
Because like even today, I'll give you an example. I have no hot water. My hot water pump's not working for some reason. So no hot shower in the morning. And they took the bedding off my bed for the week, but he hasn't come back yet. Now I could be freaking out and being like, I want to be able to have a shower and I want fresh bed because then I want to have my siesta. Or I could be like, that's cool. I trust that these things are going to be fulfilled. I can go out, I'll go grab some food, or I'll go lounge at the pool. And, it's basically just telling me that I need to shift.
Hmm.
So instead of focusing my mind on what I don't get,
Hmm.
I'm just going to go design and decide, not
Right.
deciding. I'm going to just decide to have it different.
Right.
And that's it, right? So there's a reacting and there's a response. And
Right.
to me, that's a huge distinction. And you have to exercise those personal growth muscles daily, or else they will atrophy and you will go more into a default world,
Right. This time
right? Like, are
last
you
year was
designing your
probably,
world or are you
yeah.
defaulting your world?
This time last year was probably one of the hardest, darkest times for me. And, I got tired of sitting on the couch and being a victim. And I was like, okay, we're gonna get this thing done no matter what. And,
Yeah.
living my life every day by design, I have a choice whether I continue on this path to serve humanity and serve others, or if I'm gonna go and complain about what's not working for me.
Yeah.
And I've made that decision, and my our whole life has shifted since. So, and I live my life by design every day, which is very cool because I choose how the day goes, and I choose who I spend my time with. I choose who I do meetings with, and I choose my life plan, right?
Yeah.
Um and our whole referral network and everything that we've created is allowing other people to do the same. People don't know what's happening or what's gonna come out loose soon enough, but we've set this up so people can create the life that they choose as well. And that's to me is fulfilling enough.
Yeah. And how empowering is it to literally decide moment to moment that you're putting the oxygen mask on yourself,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
Versus chasing others and really being influenced, like we become the five people we hang out with the most. So, with that in mind, what is your five influences that you're hanging out with?
Right.
And that's really it. It's like it's simple. It's just not easy,
Yep.
right? But it really is simple.
Well, and
Like
yeah,
it's
some of the
simple.
biggest influences that you have are the people that are closest to you. And that's all I'll say on this call. But, you all not only do you have to reflect and shift your mindset within yourself, but, you also have to start interrupting other people's patterns as well. And that to
Yeah.
me has been, teaching people how to treat you and what you will continue to allow happen can also significantly raise the bar in your own life. And
Well, I would invite you to go a little bit more deeper and instead of using the languaging of teaching someone to treat you differently, what I've learned in my own practice is that if everything is a projection and a perception of my own mind, then I can actually shift it within me because
right.
if you're seeing it in them, like if you spot it, you got it,
Yeah.
right? So the only reason you spot it is because it's inside you and it's projecting outward. So if you transform your instead of more into the feed of the fear of a loss and a lack and
Hmm.
control of that human, and instead you sit there and go, okay, how can I take this on myself? And how can I transform and shift? Like what will end up happening is you'll just be on a different frequency and those people kind of fade
Totally.
away.
Right. And that's even what I feel a lot is happening in my life right now as well. I'm attracting more people that are in alignment with what it is that we're creating and how we're living our lives. And a lot of
Yeah.
the people that are not in alignment are slowly fading away, which is okay,
Yeah.
you know? Um,
Yeah. I
they
think there's
they always say that you
nothing.
can't take everybody with you. So, that to me it in itself, I feel personally, I feel I've grown. And, now I can look back at who I was compared to who I am now. And I'm so grateful for all of those very hard times and the experiences that I did go through because it wouldn't have made me who I am.
Well, to add, one of the things that I'm doing in my personal practice is if I'm truly living in the power of now, which is moment to moment, and there is no such thing as a future and a past, if you truly believe that, then what I would be doing in my situation is I wouldn't be looking backwards, right? Like Abraham Hicks said this the other day is, we meet someone new, we're on a date, and all of a sudden we sit down and we say, "Tell me about yourselves,"
Right.
or like, "Tell me where you come from." And I really started looking at that deeper, and I was like, why would I want to be more in that place of possible shadow? And like, that's not a deliberate creator of their own life experience. That's a reflector of what perception happened to them. Like, even their things, this might be really esoteric, but I'm going to go there, is it's like if everything is made up in the mind and projected, and the only thing is you and your mind, and that it's all you, then all the things that you happen in the past, what if that was literally just the meaning you gave an action? Like,
Mm.
what if something happened and it was like a stimulus and you made it mean something? That wasn't the true reality. That was literally the illusion.
Whoa.
So
Yeah. That just
So
made
why
me think
keep
of
feeding
something
the
from
fire of
childhood.
a memory of an illusion?
Yo, that just made me think of something from childhood.
Okay.
Literally going to the grocery store and wanting a candy and being told that I can't have it because we can't afford it. Oh, I just had a shift that just made my own mind pop. I love
Yeah,
we have these conversations because this may resonate with other people that are watching this call. So
100%. But
yeah,
that's
it's,
that to me is the power of an organic conversation. Like we get these downloads. We didn't plan this. I'm not sticking to like I gotta talk about this or maybe
yeah.
someone will get bored. Like I have no fear around that. I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to show up for me. I'm going to show up who I am, be in the authenticity lighthouse who I am. And my way of doing things is being more organic and grounded and flow state, right? Like
Yeah,
that's it. And
it's interesting because this is not who the Jay that I met. You are a completely amazing human, and and that's why I thought it was so great to have you on the call today because the last interview we did, you're not even the same person. In some ways you are, but not like you're free as a bird. And I wanted
yeah,
people to, get to know who you are. And again, if anybody would like to have a conversation with Jay, I highly recommend to reach out to him. I'm going to make sure that he's tagged in all of these posts and videos as well with all of his information. So you can reach out to him and have a conversation with him as well. I think that's so
yeah.
important.
I mean,
Um,
Callie, the thing that keeps coming up for me word wise, what surfaces is this like inner peace. It's a calmness. It's
mhm,
I also put this out there too. I keep using the word clarity. It's like it's not muddy. Like I'm learning in various courses or books and things that I'm reading, the stuff that I've come across lately is this whole idea is we're confused. We're chickens with our heads cut off. We bought in and we're basically habituated to these illusions
mhm.
that this is the way the world is running. And even through social media, we get polarized that, oh my God, everything's happening. Like even my mom does this sometimes, is like she'll just be like, oh my God, I saw this in Mexico and this is happening and this is happening. And I'm like, yeah, that happened. And that was one block out of 6 million population.
Yeah.
And like it's not that way. Like in Mexico, my perception is people lead with their heart, not their head. When I was in Toronto, the first question I got was, "What do you do?"
Yep.
And that's why I had to shift it. And it would really like throw their fuse off in their brain because I'd be like, did you just ask what I did? Yes. Okay. Well, it's not what I'm doing these days. It's who I'm being for myself and
Right.
others. And
Totally.
they would be like almost like in their script, like an avatar or
Yeah.
an AI or something, like they would start malfunctioning and they'd be
Yeah.
like, well, w- what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And they would just kind of keep repeating it because they didn't know how to take that level of frequency of what do you mean being? Like, I thought we're human doings. No, we're human beings. And like the more I just live that truth of wait a minute, like we're on this planet to explore and to basically gather consciousness. And if consciousness is just our mind, then shouldn't we be working on it
Right.
and practicing it daily so it doesn't atrophy? Like, I don't know. And then to me, the exciting thing is being so present and not having an agenda or a restriction in time, like, oh, I gotta be somewhere. Like even that's a dirty word I learned last night with my new friend. Like, gotta? Like, I don't gotta do nothing. I could choose. Like, if someone's like, you gotta be here, I'm like, okay, thank you for your perception and your opinion. And I humbly decline.
And
Like, if it
what is,
doesn't move me,
yeah, what is
right?
occurring for me is in that conversation is about realizing who you actually are and who you are on the planet, not just for yourself, but for others. And it's a like business starts with relationships first, then the money and everything else comes. So if you are being
Ideally.
inauthentic, shady as F or whatever,
Yeah.
then you're going to attract those same kind of people. But if you are actually living your purpose and you are taking a stand for others, then you're going to attract the right people that live that same way.
Yeah. I 100% agree. It's the frequency, and then it's all of a sudden it's like I feel like the things that I choose to add to my life during the day, like I talked about the juggling thing, or I talk about, playing blues harp or didgeridoo and learning circular breathing, or diving deeper into A Course in Miracles or the Abraham Hicks or the mind models, like things that I may have collected and I kind of caught myself in my own languaging saying, one day I'm going to do that, right? When I retire and I have money done and I have all this time freedom, I'm going to learn more guitar, right? I'm finally going to play blues harmonica. Woohoo! And I'll do little things like collect playlists for learning how to play blues harmonica, right? There's that resourcefulness. However, that was me deciding. That wasn't me decided. Decided would look like, you know what? I'm going to take my agenda out right now, the Google Calendar, and I know that on Tuesday and Wednesday, I don't play pickleball and I don't go surfing. So there's a space that may or may not have the possibility, but I'm generating it right now. So now I'm in action and I'm actually implementation. I'm
Yeah,
not talking about it. I'm like, boom. So
right.
I've decided that I'm going to generate the possibility in that space.
I love
And
it.
then all of a sudden, I make it a daily practice because I know
Right.
it's super easy for the human nature of us to just get distracted. But practice I've learned could be like 30 seconds to 60 seconds of a blitz. And that could happen 4 times during the day. That's way more powerful than trying to carve out an hour.
Yeah.
It start with the little steps. So it's the same thing. And here's the example through trust-based relationship and leading with the heart, I've decided that I don't want to go to the guitar store and rent a guitar. I'm just going to put it out to the community here that I'd love to borrow a guitar and I'll treat it like my own baby.
Yeah.
And boom, one day later, guitar shows up,
Yeah.
right? And
Awesome.
I'm hosting karaoke night. Like,
Yeah.
what? I was told, like back to my child, I was told I couldn't sing. So I stopped singing for a long time. Then I realized, wait a minute, I have YouTube Premium because that's on my essential list. No ads. Oh, I could carve out time during my days to just practice singing,
Right.
right?
Yeah, I've had to make some shifts as well. Like since I started feeling better after the detox, I'm like, I'm actually feeling well enough to start slowly stretching and slowly working out because that was one thing that was on my list was getting healthy and getting my body moving again. So that's another thing that I've added and
Me too. I've always had tight hamstrings, so I started making up the story. The itty bitty shitty committee got louder, and basically it's just plugging dialogue in my head saying that, well, why try yoga when you can't do downward dog?
right.
Like, there's no hope for you.
Now
So
you're
I'm just going to stop practicing the flexibility of my spine and
right.
like, no, I could just find variations, find resourcefulness, ways to
Improve it.
do downward facing dog,
Right.
right? Get the stretch, get the outcome I'm looking for, just not with the typical approach.
Right.
I mean,
So,
to me,
um,
that's part of my design of my
I mean,
life. Like, I'm not
me
the typical approach.
Right. I mean, me and you could talk for hours about this, but I want to keep it to a reasonable length because we've already been almost 45 minutes. And I want to make sure
Damn.
that everybody goes back and watches this as well. So, we're planning our first international conference and event coming up in Mexico. And Jay, I'm sure you'll be there joining us as well. But if anybody would like to get a hold of Jay and have a conversation about the lifestyle he's been able to create, I highly recommend to reach out to him and have a conversation. He is an amazing human being. He's also a fabulous connector. He can also recommend some books and movies and things that you can watch to help shift your mindset as well. He's been that person for me, and I encourage you, if you're watching this video, to reach out to him as well because you never know what can come out of the conversations that you have in private, speaking with Jay. He's an amazing human being and he really takes a true stand for you in your life as well. And I wanted to thank you for being here
Yeah.
today, sharing your experience, how you've like shifted your complete life and now you're living the nomad life, which is like what I'm looking to accomplish in the next year. And then we'll celebrate one day sitting at the beach in Mexico, sipping some margaritas.
Uh, if I might add, Callie, in the comments down below, everyone, I would love to hear what effective in communication and relationship skills means to you. Like what
Yeah.
surfaces? Uh, please share. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So thank you
Oh,
so
did I
much,
cut out?
Jay, for taking the time today. I see that you've gotten some nice color to your face. I'm white as a ghost, so I'm looking forward to my tan too, very soon. And thank you for taking the time to do this interview and inspire other people that what they can create and live their life by design is possible for them as well.
Yeah, and I would invite like all people watching this, really reach out to Callie because
Mhm.
what I've seen in the last 4 or 5 years is people don't really fully understand what she's envisioning. And because she spent so much time with systems and extracting those systems, but also like for lack of a negative term, like, really I say it this way, there wasn't that much substance and sustenance. There was a lot of hype and rah-rah around certain things. And really it boils down to so many people are promising fulfillment and they really aren't getting it. And they might be tied up in systems or money, whatever issue it is, challenge-wise, it's still unfulfilling. And even for myself, purchasing, 5, 8 grand for like coaching courses and promise of easy money quick and all these things, it was all a beautiful life lesson to understand that really there's a lot of sexy wording out there and people are spending it on marketing, but really they're not showing up. They're not fulfilling on what they said they are. They might have great intentions, but they're also buying into the rat race and the hamster wheels out there. So Callie, I believe, is really doing more discernment these days, and she is basically got this huge vision and she's been through so much that people with PTSD around systems can like actually find more of a home here
Yep.
and really no one's got a lot to lose. Like, I mean, it's worth checking out. So continue to have a conversation with Callie, have an updated conversation with Callie, because if you had a conversation with her 2 years ago or even 6 months ago, it's a very different conversation now. And you really need to see what's going on a little bit more behind the scenes and what's coming. Because yeah, it's not a scarcity thing of missing the boat. It's like you just want to plug in early.
Yep.
And so I invite you all to plug in early.
Yeah, the whole vision behind the company is to create what's possible for others and allow them to participate with us. And that to me My mindset has had to shift around that too because I did come from a scarcity mentality when I started building this. And
Mm,
my vision behind it was always to help others, but I didn't even know how I could do that without helping myself. So
yeah,
now we're here.
100%.
And I'm wearing my Lifestyle Referral Network shirt just for you today, Jay.
Nice.
Awesome. Okay, guys.
No,
I hope you
I
guys
love it.
and enjoyed our call and enjoyed our conversation back and forth. I hope you found something that is of value to you. Again, reach out to myself or reach out to Jay. We'd be happy to have a conversation and take it to the next level because that's what we do.
We do love to elevate life. I agree.
Right. Awesome. Okay, have a good
All
day.
right,
Have
everyone.
fun at the
Thank
beach. Have
you.
fun learning your juggling lessons. I want to see a video. Deal? Deal.
Awesome. Deal.
Okay. Bye, guys.